Describe the rule of 4 as applied to the equation y equals 1/4 x minus 3. So let's think about what the rule of 4 is. The rule of 4 tells us that we can describe solutions in a number of different ways. We can describe them as an equation, we can describe them in a graph, we can describe them in a table, and we can also, if we scroll down here, see that we're going to be describing solutions in words. So that's that idea of the rule of 4, that there's 4 ways to think about these mathematical things that we're dealing with. We can think about it with words, with tables, with graphs, and with equations. So let's start off by describing the solutions of y equals 1/4 x minus 3 using a graph. We have some good tools for doing that now. We can see that our equation is given to us in the form y equals mx plus b. So we can see that our value for m that's the coefficient of the x, that's the number in front of the x. So we can see that m equals 1/4. And so my rise is going to be 1 and my run is going to be 4. And then we can see that our value for b is -3. So that means that our y-intercept is going to equal 0, 3. So with that information, we can go ahead and create our graph. Oops, I need to say 0, -3. I almost lost my negative sign there. So we've got to be careful of that. Because remember, there's that negative sign in front of that 3. So my y-intercept is going to be at 0, -3. So there's 0, -3 right there. And now we're going to use our slope to come up with a couple more points. So from the y-intercept, we're going to rise 1, and we're going to run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, rise 1 and run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives us enough to be able to put our straight edge down pretty accurately. So we're going to grab that and set it up over here. So line it up on that first point and then just rotate it just a little bit to go through those other points. And then let's grab our pencil and create our line. Now we can get rid of this. And we can finish up by putting our arrows on each end of the line to remind us that it goes on forever. So remember that every point that we find on that line is going to be a solution to our graph, or a solution to our equation, I should say. Now we're being asked to describe the solutions of y equals 1/4 x minus 3 by using a table. Now we could certainly go back to the drawing board. We could choose a bunch of values for x. We could do our calculations and we could come up with our value for y. So let's just try that. Let's try that maybe for x equals 0. So if we let x equal 0, we put 0 in for our x. So we're going to have y equals 1/4 times 0 minus 3. So y equals 1/4 times 0. 1/4 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3. So y equals 0 minus 3. So that would give us -3. But let's think about what we already know here. What we already know is that, look, here's that point 0, -3 right there on the graph. We can actually use our graph to complete our table. We just need to choose some points from my graph to complete the table. We could certainly do this for other values for x, but I say, why do that when we can see here that if x is 4, y is -2. So if x is 4, y is -2. And then we could also use this point right here when x is 8, y is -1. We could go the other direction as well. We could say, let's see another point where this lines up. It looks like about right here. And so that would be when x is -4, the y value is also -4. So notice that we could certainly use what we know algebraically, just working some values into our equation. But we can also use the work that we already did on our, our graph and use that connection that we know between the points on the graph and solutions to the equation. Now let's think about how we can talk about this in words. How do we describe the solutions of y equals 1/4 x minus 3 in words? Well, let's see what our solutions are going to be. So for all of our solutions, how are we going to come up with our y? Well, we're going to take 1/4 times the value for x, and then we're going to subtract 3 from it. So there's lots of ways that we could say that. One of the ways would be to say that for all of our solutions, the y value will be 3 less than, because when we subtract 3 from something, that makes it 3 less than 1/4, 1/4 of the x value. So let's type that up and see what that looks like when we actually put that in writing. So for every solution, the y value will be 3 less than 1/4, or you could also say, or 1/4 of the x value. So in many different ways that we could talk about that, but that's kind of one of the most direct ways to do that. So don't be afraid of having to, being asked to put these in words. Just use all of the skills that you've developed up to this point, and you'll be able to do that if you just take your time, just think about it. You've got all the tools you need to be successful with these kinds of problems.